Good morning, everybody. Thursday morning. Welcome to today's live stream. We are in Psalm 106 today. Just waiting for my first attendee. I see a number up there, but I haven't seen any names yet. Oh, there's Debbie King. Welcome this morning. And Keith and Carr, welcome. Keith, how are things going there in the Navajo Nation as it relates to COVID and your ongoing work there? How are things? Just give us an update if you can, briefly. Stacy and Terry Riggle, welcome this morning. Jeremy and Wendy, Carmen, Bob and Claudia. There's my mom. Welcome this morning. Jan, Lori Cares, good morning. Welcome, everybody. Another beautiful morning. We're grateful to be here all together. Daryl and Suzanne, welcome. You're in Everett now, Everett, Washington. I hope you're enjoying your trip. Barbara Del Rio, welcome this morning. Grateful for everybody and your faithfulness. Sally Crocker, welcome to you today. Welcome, everybody. Well, I think we'll go ahead and start. Psalm 106 today. Psalm 106. I'm going to get my Bible out here. And I want to simply ask a question this morning. Stephen Andrea, welcome this morning. Barbara Richardson, welcome to you. And this is a question I just wrote in my journal this morning at the end of my journaling. Alyssa Tucker, welcome to you. And that is, what is faith? Defining faith. My philosophy professor asked this question in college at not a Christian school that I took that class. And you were always reluctant to answer any questions in that class if you're a believer, because he made it very clear that at least in part his job was to make believers feel very silly, and I didn't quite understand. I was, 20, 21 when I took this class. And it just seemed to me that we were all at a disadvantage. Here we are, fledglings in philosophy, and here's this philosophy professor who has had all these years of honed arguments challenging our faith. And because I took that into account, I'd never heard these arguments before, but my faith didn't waver. It's like, well, I know the truth, and I may not have an answer to your arguments yet, because I haven't heard these arguments before, but I know what's true, and my faith didn't waver in that, though I didn't always have a great answer for those early questions by the philosopher, but my philosopher teacher. But I thought, what kind of character did he have? I understand that you want to expose your class to new ideas, but his agenda clearly was to make Christians feel silly, and that, I think, speaks more of his character than the benefit of learning philosophy. So he asked this question: what is faith? What is faith? And as Christians, we like to turn to Hebrews chapter 11, which is kind of the faith chapter of the Bible. Faith is believing in things we cannot see, things we haven't, that we hope for, that we believe in, and that's great. I think that's a good definition. But I want to present a different definition than that. That's just one that, and I think all of us should write as long as our definition is accurate, in our own words, what faith means, so that we can be very clear. And I want to just present this answer to that question: what is faith? Faith is believing in the person and promises of God, and then validating that faith by obedience. That seems to also encapsulate that Hebrews 11 chapter. that all of these believed, yet they didn't see the answer to the promises. They believed in the promises of God, and they lived their lives in accord with those promises, though they didn't see the realization of them always. And so faith, let me read my definition of faith again. Faith is believing in the person and promises of God, and then validating that faith by obedience. You have to put your money where your mouth is. The rubber meets the road. All those colloquialisms that we apply to. If you really believe this to be true, your life should reflect it. So now I turn to Psalm 106. And Psalm 106 is one of those psalms of reminding Israel of her mistakes, of their lack of faith. And really it is a way of keeping them honest, keeping them, it's like, hey, don't fall into the same traps as our ancestors, of the people that preceded us. Let's learn from their mistakes and keep moving forward. Because history has a way of repeating itself unless we learn from it. I mean, this is kind of the downfall of taking down all these historical monuments everywhere. We're trying to erase history that we are ashamed of. Israel never erased their history that they were ashamed of. They put it, in this case, into a song, and they sang it because they didn't want to repeat the same mistakes. And so this is important. So I'm just going to read a couple of verses from Psalm 106. Psalm 106 just recounts the history of Israel from their time in Egypt forward, and all the ways they chose not to remember all the and put their faith in the person and promises of God. And so here's just one example of that. When they came up to the promised land and how they saw how great the promised land was, but how fortified the cities were and how strong their enemies were, and they thought, you know what, we can't take it. We're like grasshoppers to them, and so they refused to go in. And so this is the psalmist's reflection on that part of Israel's history. He says this in Psalm 106:24. Then they despised the pleasant land, having no faith in his promise. They murmured in their tents and did not obey the voice of the Lord. Therefore he raised his hand and swore to them that he would make them fall in the wilderness. So there is this little snapshot of Israel's history, of their lack of faith. God says they despised, the psalmist says, they despised the promised land, the pleasant land that God had promised them. They didn't believe in his promise. Faith is believing in the person and promises of God and then validating that faith by obedience. We can say we believe all day long, but until we put our money where our mouth is, until we walk in obedience, that faith is invalid. It's of no value. And so we have to walk in obedience. So let me read to you another verse that I jotted down in my journal this morning. That's from Numbers 14:11. This is the same part of Israel's history. They're there, the spies have come back from the land, and they're giving an account of how great the land is, but 8 of the 10 spies said, we can't take it. 2 of the 10 spies, Caleb and Joshua, said, of course we can take it. God's with us. He's going to fulfill his promise to us. He's made it very clear that we can take the land. And here's Numbers 14:11. This is God's response to their unwillingness to believe, put their trust in him. And the Lord said to Moses, how long will this people despise me? How long will they not believe in me in spite of all the signs that I have done among them? And so not only the psalmist says they despise the pleasant land or the promised land, but God's saying, how long are they going to despise me? I've proven myself to them over and over and over. I've fed them every single day as manna in the desert. I delivered them from Egypt. I delivered them through the Red Sea. I gave them water out of the rock. I appeared to them as a pillar of fire by night and a cloud by day. they came to the mountain and I gave them the 10 Commandments. I gave them all the law of the Lord. I spoke directly to Moses. I mean, all the signs that I gave over and over and over, excuse me, yet, you're not believing me. You don't believe in my promises, though I've demonstrated over and over and over how, I have a tickle, sorry. It's not the COVID. Though you're not believing me, you don't trust me, though I've proved myself trustworthy. And this is the sad part of their unwillingness to remember God, remember everything he's done. And so fast forward to the New Testament. Did they learn? Did we learn? And the whole book of Hebrews, this is why Hebrews 11 is a called the faith chapter, or the wall of fame for all those who place their faith in God. I'm sorry, this cough is going to be with us for a while, I think. The reason this Hebrews concludes with this 11th chapter, 11, 12, 13, there's last 3 chapters of the Bible in the Hebrews 11, is because the recipients of this letter had seen Jesus. They that not with their own eyes, they were second generation of believers, but they were experiencing all of the goodness of the realities of faith, and that Jesus had come. So all of the promises of the Old Testament had been fulfilled. Not all of them, but a significant number of them had been fulfilled in Jesus. And the writer of Hebrews is saying, why would you go back to Judaism? All those things were the shadow of things to come. Now you have the reality in Jesus. Why would you ever go back and start abiding by the shadow again? Yet that's the temptation of every single one of us, every single believer. It was a temptation of Israel. They wanted to go back to Egypt. They wanted to fire Moses as their leader, elect a new leader, and go back to Egypt, and go back to safety, if you will, even though they were oppressed. And the recipients of the letter to the Hebrews were wanting to go back to Judaism because it was safer. They wouldn't be persecuted for their faith in Jesus. And the writer of Hebrews saying, just like that generation fell in the desert, fell in the wilderness, they didn't enter the promised land, you are in the same position of making a choice here. Are you going to believe or not? Are you going to enter into the rest that God has promised you, that is found in Jesus alone? You have Jesus and the forgiveness of sin and the cleansing of our conscience. Don't reject Jesus. And so that's just our encouragement today, to remain faithful. Ask ourselves a question, do I have faith? What is faith? Faith is believing in the person and promises of God, and then validating that faith by through our obedience. And today, how are we trusting God afresh? And it's helpful sometimes just to reflect and not forget all of his benefits, all of his mighty deeds and marvelous works of the past. And that's why we read all these passages from the Bible, to see how God has acted on behalf of his people and how great that is. And so anytime we feel a little insecure in our way, and our way is hard, remember the generation that was going to go into the promised land, it wasn't just a cakewalk. They did have to face fortified cities like Jericho. They did have to face very powerful people in the land, and they did so. They would have to do so by faith, believing that God could deliver them. It's the same way today. Our faith doesn't make life easy. Life is hard. It has obstacles. It has challenges. We are uncertain of the future sometimes, but we have to remember how God is with us. We believe in God. God is going to carry us through those difficult times, and we just have to remember who it is we serve, and so that God would not say, how long are they going to despise me? We wouldn't repeat the phrase of the psalmist, how How long are they going to despise the pleasant land that I'm offering them? And may that not be said of us. May we learn from the mistakes of God's people of the past. And today, validate our faith afresh by walking in obedience to his promises, by believing in God as a person and his character of goodness and faithfulness and righteousness and holiness and love toward us, and then demonstrating our faith, validating that faith by walking in obedience to him and saying, God, I trust you. My way is hard. It's difficult. I don't always see it clearly, but I know you're with me. I know you love me, and you're a good God. I trust you afresh today, and I know that my faith will be rewarded. My hope in you will not be disappointed, according to the promises of Scripture. So carry this truth forward today. Live in it. Walk in obedience to it as you spend your day with your family, with your coworkers, if you're able to go to work. With the uncertainty of our future, trust in God. He is in control. Let us continue to walk forward, validate our faith with our actions today. God bless you guys today. I will see you on Sunday, either via our live stream or in person. And prayerfully, our county will still continue to stay open. So continue to pray for that, and pray for the Navajo Nation. Just want to remember them again. Keith gave a little brief update for us in the comments, so I encourage you to read that. I didn't get a chance to see that when it went by on my screen, but I saw that he did comment. Thank you, Keith, for doing that. So take a moment, read through those comments, read that comment that Keith gave us, and just spend a moment praying for them and the ongoing work there among the Navajo Nation today. And Lord bless you. We'll see you Sunday.